bit of a weird angle here, but as you can see, we're doing sprinkles. So I thought I would make a video dedicated solely to the making of these things, just so that anyone who buys them can have a look and you know, see how I've sort of come to the conclusion that is the easiest way to make them. Now I've got these on a board that I can move, just because I'm going to make a few. Now this is 200 grams of oils. I wanted to show you how far that will go. Get out of there, you little bastard. I hate fruit flies. Okay, so this is an introduction to my channel, if nothing else. They've slid off. I have baking paper underneath here because I was being lazy and thought, oh no, no worries, don't need to use baking paper, you can just do it straight on these. You don't do that. Soap sticks really well to laminate, and you peel up your sprinkle sheet and the sprinkles stay on there. It's not, it doesn't work. So now I found that when your batter's loose, it's better to do it in the bigger ones than the smaller ones. The smaller ones take a thicker batter better. Thicker batter better. Say that 3 times. Thicker batter better, thicker batter better, thicker batter better. I can say that 3 times fast. Now, ideally it needs to be a little bit thicker than this, but because I'm doing so many, I'm just going to start with it this thin. So I like to just come along and just pour, and then get my spatula. Now, the side that with these spatulas, one side's very, very straight, and then you've got this rounded side. I like to just spread it with the tip of it and then come back across with the really flat side, because the less mixture you have on the top, see all this extra mixture on the top, the more of that you have, the more fallout you'll have when you go to unmold these things, and it makes it a bit messy. I mean, it's like, it's fine, it doesn't look bad on the top of soap or anything, but yeah, it's just the cleaner I mean, there's less cleanup too, less waste, but also hold these while you're doing this. If they move around, most of your batter will go in underneath the sheet, and you don't want that. So I'm just trying to get all of the holes in. So I probably should have been filming 2 different angles for this, but I'm just making sure that it's in all of the holes. Now, when you can't hold on to this anymore, if you've got one next to it, just hold on to the one next to it, and that will stop it from sliding in the direction that you're actually pulling across them. So this is what I do. Now, this will drag some of the mixture out of your sprinkles. So I can see that there's one there that's got not a lot left in it. So I'm just going to just do that. These bigger ones, which I don't actually sell in the shop, these are just mine, do have a tendency to do this. When you get down into the smaller sizes, you'll find it doesn't pull out as much. So just a word of advice there. Well, this is a whole video of advice, really. But I mean, honestly, they're pretty simple. You just spread it around, make sure it gets in there. Try not to have them move. There's hair there. I don't think I can get that out without. There we go, got it. That fruit fly will be the death of me. So again, I'm just holding the one next to it so it stops it from moving, because it will move. Trust me, they do move about, even once your batter starts to set up a bit, they don't move around as much. And also, you can see there's still a fair amount on top here. What I will do is clean them up like that, but then come back in about, it depends. It will depend, a lot will depend upon your recipe too. If you just use like a full-on 100% coconut, which, you know, if you aren't a seasoned soaper, I would strongly recommend that you just use a 100% soap recipe, 100% soap recipe. That made no sense. 100% coconut oil. What am I talking about? Trying to talk and concentrate. Then maybe I can't multitask. Yeah, 100% coconut oil is honestly, if you know how to troubleshoot, you'll be fine. If you still fairly new and you are going to try these, go for it. But just don't make things too complicated for yourself. If you think you can use like a Castile recipe or something in these, it's not going to happen. You can't use, well, you can do whatever you want. I would highly recommend not using a soft recipe for this at all. I used my recipe in this, the one that I use for everything, and it's 60%. It's got 60% hard oils in it, and that's not even including like the fact that olive oil goes hard after a while. What was I saying? Oh yeah, and it took a decent amount of time to unmold. So if you want to be patient, you can leave your soap in these for as long as you want. I don't see that there would be a time limit necessarily to leave your soap in these. The thing that I found is once they're ready, they pretty much just pop out. Like you'll pick up your sheet and go like this, and then they'll just start popping out. So whereas, see, I say that, but then you'll find like ones that have smaller sheets, like the stars or the circles don't really do it. The circles have a tendency to pop pretty easy, same as all the basic shapes. Like, there's another one. Where the hell are all these friggin' hairs coming from? Not me. Oh, it could be me. No, my hair's blonde on the ends. Yeah, all the basic shapes tend to pop out really easy. It's when you get into like the stars and like the unicorn heads. Now that's another thing too that I was going to say is the more complicated shapes like mermaid tails and, you know, palm trees and stuff like that, they take a little finesse. Now, don't expect, like you wouldn't with any tool at all, don't expect to just be able to buy these and be able to use them straight up and not have any problems. I make these things, I invented these things, and I still cannot pop an entire sheet of mermaid tails without breaking a couple. It's just, you have to figure out what is the best recipe for you. You have to figure out the best way to pop things out. Some things are easier to just pop out, whereas some things will be more sort of, it's the way you hold your fingers on them when you pop them. So yeah, don't just assume that you can just buy these and they will work for you. Just like, I would hope that you wouldn't just buy any tool of any kind and just assume you can use it. You need to learn. It's like soaping in general. You need to practice and figure out what works best for you. So that's why I thought I'll make this, and this can give you some of the tips that I have learnt just in using these just in the last couple of weeks now. You know, I've gone through probably 4 different recipes, I think, to get what I'm thinking is probably the best recipe right now. I don't know whether this will still be the best recipe for me in summer. It's quite cool here. It's actually, dead on 20, is it? Yeah, dead on 20 degrees right now, which is pretty good. So, you know, this recipe might not be as good in summertime, perhaps. But yes, I'm not using 100% coconut oil. just so that you are aware. But yes, so, but see, as you can see, it's going in a bit, like it's thickened up as well. And it also, these smaller circles, I love these smaller circles. These are beautiful to do because it just goes in really nicely. So you can slide your spatula along, and you very rarely, I can see there's two there that weren't quite full. But this is pretty much it. I mean, there's not much else to it, honestly. I might just shut up, and then that way I can fast forward this and you can just watch this to some music. Probably I will swap out sheets, and you'll see that anyway. I'll shut up again. first sheet done. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 26 sheets. So, and there was, if I went around and scraped everything, I could probably get maybe half a sheet. So maybe a little bit more. But yeah, so that's not bad for 200 grams, right? All right. Well, I'm going to turn this off and then I'll bring you back when we unmold them. All right. Toodles. Hello. All right, so it's been 24 hours. These are all nice and hard now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this big, broad, reasonably flat knife and I'm going to scrape off the rest of the excess. Now, as you can see, there's not a lot on there. Like I said before, I went over these and give them a good scrape with a spatula to get as much off as possible because it then makes this step easier. So as you can see, there's not very much coming off at all. Pretty much it. There's not very much on there. Actually did a pretty good job with cleaning these ones up, to be honest. Kurt walking around up there. He came home for his mother's birthday. Oh, okay. Alright, so I've just lifted that up. Now this is the top. What I like to do, doesn't matter if you do it or not, it's up to you, is just knock all the excess off the edges. And then when you turn it around, this is what you'll find on the back. Now, I'm using the phone, so I don't know if that's actually focusing on that. See, there's not a lot there. And what I just do is I tend to just hold it in my hand and just scrape it. And I'm trying to scrape across these as flat as possible. Now, if you do this too late after you make these, you'll notice they'll pop out as you're scraping. So you want these little things to still have a bit of grip. So getting to know your recipe will be a big part of this. It's been 24 hours since I made these. I could have come and done this a little bit sooner, but I've been out all day because it's my birthday. Which you probably won't be when you watch this. But it might. Now, as you can see, there's more fall off on this side, but that's because these didn't get scraped. That's just, some of it has oozed out from when you push across with the spatula. Admittedly, as well, these is the second tray that I did. The first tray will have more because it was a more fluid batter, whereas this was a bit thicker. Ooh, I'm really not enjoying that blackberry lavender. That's what that soap is at the end there. Not a fan. There's fruit flies in here again. There's dead fruit flies in here again. Okay, so I'm just fussy and like to just make them as neat as possible. Just because if you don't, a lot of this you're going to get when you pop them out. Now, I don't think these are particularly ready. They will pop out, but they're not going to pop out well. But I'll just show you now. I can just push that. You can see it's just basically fallen out. So these are pretty good. I will leave these more than likely for another 24 hours, and I can just sort of just go chunk, and they'll just go probably with less sound effects though. But anything that's a little more difficult to unmold, like say the unicorn heads or you know, even the flowers, probably won't pop out quite as well as that because, you know, they have little grippy bits. But anyway, again, I just lift it up, knock the edges off, get rid of all the mess, because I sit I generally take these up and sit in front of the computer at my desk and pop these out. So another reason to keep them as clean as possible, although I do it over some baking paper, but it's messy. Even if you knock all of this off, like, you get that off as much as you can, there's still going to be fallout. So, but this is it. This is how you do it. Well, this is how I found is the easiest way to do it so far. I would say you don't have to use a knife, but you're not going to be able to do this with a silicone spatula. It's just too soft. You need something that's going to be fairly tight and hard to the surface. And you can see I'm keeping my hands like this. So there's zero danger of me actually cutting myself, except I have a sharp knife in my hand and I'm useless. But apart from that, but like I said, if you leave this part too late, as you're pushing on here, you're just going to find that they'll pop out and they'll break easier because they're falling from a height, or it's just much easier to do this while they're still a little sticky. Like, I can feel that these are they're probably a little sticky. Like, anyone who doesn't like handling raw soap, it's been 24 hours. I would suggest you wear gloves at this stage. It's up to you. If you wear gloves when you unmold your soap and cut it, then wear gloves if that will make you feel safer. I don't tend to wear gloves. You know, I turned 52 today. I have old lady hands. It's official. I don't know why 52 is official, but whatever. So yeah, and I'll just now go through and do this for every single one. Now, as you can see, again, also the other thing too is, see how that, they're pop. Oh God, that's my dishwasher. It makes the weirdest noises. They're popping out, but they're not sort of like popping. Like, these will unmold. I will come back again tomorrow and I'll show you how much easier they pop out. What I'm going to do now is I'll do all this. I'll clean this sheet and I'm going to lay these down with the bottoms face up. So because these have had air on this side for 24 hours, I'll then lay them the other way and let them have air again for 24 hours. Just, I don't know, just feel like it makes more sense. Like, it's, once you take your soap out of a mold and it gets air on all angles, it's basically the same thing. And the majority of the surface is getting the air to help with the curing process. And it's only like the little edges that aren't. So there's that. All right, well, I'm not going to do this on camera because it's really boring and you don't want to watch. I'll come back tomorrow and I will show you how easy they pop out, and I'll show you some of the more complicated ones like the unicorn heads, and I'll show you how I've found is the best way to use your fingers to get the unicorn horn to not snap off. And other things. Like, there's some butterflies there which I find are particularly hard to unmold if they're unmolded too soon, or if you don't sort of unmold them the right way, or the way I've found it's not necessarily the right way. It's the right way for me. All right, enough waffling. I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Okay, so we'll make this one snappy because I'm dying of sinus here. As you can see, this is the unicorn heads. A lot of times you'll find that well, not a lot of times, but if you're not careful, you'll snap off his little horn really easy. So I like to just really gently push my finger underneath. It doesn't matter which side. They will pop out better. You have to figure out which side they'll pop out better from. It depends on the sheet, on the recipe, on, any number of factors. But I always push sort of from the horn downwards so that it's the first thing that pops out. So if I just see how that popped out first, and then he'll just pop straight out. Now it's lunchtime the next day, so these are now 36 hours old. And again, I'll just, now see he's snapped off, even though I pushed it exactly the same way. So I can also come and try it from the other side, because I can actually feel some of these moving as I'm doing this. Sometimes it doesn't hurt to just sort of just give your sheet just a little bit of a bend backwards and forwards just to loosen it. Be careful, you don't want to snap your sheet. So this is from the other side now. I'm going to try that one. So he popped out, no worries, with his little horn. No worries, we'll push him over there because he's no good. He's just a horse now. So again, just pushing from the top downwards, and pretty much all of these have popped out, no problem. So I'll just knock them out, and they will just fall down. You have to be careful doing this too. I'm being a bit rough because I don't really care. If they fall out too hard, that can knock the horn off as well. But yeah, it's just a simple case of just coming along. And like I said, you can see I'm sort of, I'll see if I can show you from the back. As I'm doing this, I'm just sort of going like that. So can you see? No, because I'm not actually on the, just because I'm using a phone and not a camera. Okay, so I'll show you. I'm sort of just going like that, and sort of going from the horn, and each one of those is all popped out really nicely. So again, I'll just do the same thing. So from the horn across like that, and every single one of those has popped out no problem. You can generally see, usually if it doesn't pop out properly, the horn will be stuck. But it's the same with any shape that's not just like a circle or a square or something. You need to figure out the best way to get it to pop out of its little difficult spots. So those I just basically pushed, and they were fine too. So, but you can see this is actually popping out a lot better from that side. So obviously doing it, and see that one broke, even though I did it exactly the same. And that one's also stuck in a little bit. Sometimes you just need to finesse them a little. But you know, like I said, well, we've only got 2 that haven't worked out of this whole sheet so far. So I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, that's a pretty good ratio, I reckon. But I'm gonna leave that at that because my lunch is cooking and I've got sinus and I don't want to stay in this stinky room. So there you go. That's how you do those. If you have any questions, you can feel free to contact me on the Wickedly Goods page, Facebook page, or comment down below. I'll try and answer your questions for you. But yeah, okay. Bye.